here is Paul Ryan on Good Morning America. Now, you understand, Paul Ryan's on this huge tour because since he was in college, all he could dream of was this idea of cutting taxes for wealthy people and cutting Social Security and Medicare. This is what they would hang out around the keg, where he would go to college because of Social Security, incidentally, because he was orphaned. His father died. And his one way of making sure that somehow he wasn't stigmatized by this, I guess, was to go out and lash out against other people who depend on Social Security down the road. And I should say, if he's really worried about those people living paycheck to paycheck, understand this. They're also not saving for their retirement. The only retirement they're going to have is Social Security, which you've already begun the process of cutting by trying to introduce this CPI, the change CPI measure of inflation, which hurts older people in particular. And once you try and adopt that with the way of calculating Social Security benefits. But here he is on Good Morning America touting this as a real boon to the people who get only 20% of the benefit as opposed to the 1% who get 80% of the benefit of this bill.
And growing the economy. So this is our plan to grow the economy. And we are convinced this will grow the economy. All the scorekeepers say it will grow the economy. It's just a question of degree. But we need to keep focused on the spending side of the ledger as well. And so that, to me, is very important. And we're going to get back on that to make sure that we can get spending under control. But we have to have economic growth. We got to get people back to work in higher paying jobs. If people are working in higher paying jobs, they're paying more taxes. The economy benefits all overall. And so that's what this does. And so we're convinced this is one of the key ingredients to fiscal discipline. The other one, of course, being spending discipline.
And that spending has a lot of people concerned as well. The AARP has come out against the tax bill, in part because they say it's going to increase the national deficit, and that means $25 billion in cuts to Medicare next year alone. Those Medicare cuts are going to be triggered next month.
Not going to happen. I can just cut you off right there. You and I know these. I know you used to work here, so you know these budget rules. It's kind of an arcane rule that will not occur, and those cuts will not happen.
So you're committed to getting to reversing
Absolutely.
Those cuts.
Yeah, it's the pay-go system, which is a rule, by the way, we never favored in the first place, and those cuts will not happen.
But are you ruling out any Medicare cuts throughout 2018? Because as you just said, you want to get spending under control, and for you, that's usually meant entitlements like Medicare.
We're going to fix the pay-go problem, which is an arcane budget problem and budget rule. But do we want to get entitlement reform? Of course we do. But the kinds of entitlement reforms I think that we're going to be pursuing are the kinds that help make sure we get people from welfare to work. That's what really we're focused on.
So you're ruling out Medicare cuts next year?
Well, there are some provider issues that we may be addressing. As you know, some providers in the Medicare field, in some cases, are getting overpaid. We want to make sure that that's being dealt with. But as far as you're talking about beneficiaries,
fraud, waste,
we're not focused on that. We're focused on getting people from welfare to work. We're focused on giving states more flexibility in Medicaid. Those are things that we think we can do to bring more savings to the budget. More importantly, to get people from welfare to work. And those are the kinds of things we're going to focus on.
So let me translate what's going on here. There are these pay-go rules, which say that if you add to the deficit, you get a cut from Medicare, and he's claiming that we're going to reverse that. We're not going to allow those cuts to go through. And Stephanopoulos says, "Are you sure you're not going to allow those cuts? You keep talking about entitlements." Well, George, to be honest with you, what we're going to do is we're going to start with poorer people. We're going to start with people living in poverty. So if you can't get a job and you don't have money to get food, let's say, or you don't have money for housing, or let's say you can't take care of your kids, what we're going to do is we're going to say, we know you can't get a job, and that's why you need this assistance. Well, to get this assistance, you're going to need a job. And then we have magic savings, of course, because that means that we don't have to fund those things. And look, we would never touch Medicare, at least before the 2018 election. We would never even articulate that we're going to do that. However, Medicaid, those are just people living in poverty. We know they don't vote that much, so we're going to continue to cut there. That's what that exchange was. But there was a little bit of more like, sort of brow and...
So arcane.
Arcane. I used arcane 3 times in that, George. So I get to cut food stamps for some children.
He's really feeling himself. You could tell. He says like, oh, man, now not only do I finally achieve my dream of, massive wealth redistribution to the wealthy and increasing poverty and suffering, but I'd really like to get my brand as a policy wonk back.
Exactly.
It's only like the occasional
You can
idiot in
almost
the
see him in,
Washington
like-
Post who still actually takes that seriously, and I'd like to get that back out there.
You can almost see the wheels in his head going like, that whole thing where I pretended like I was going to retire. That worked.
Exactly.
All right, here is
It's arcane, George. You know this.
It's
You're
arcane.
involved too.
where we you and I.
Anyways, here's
We're
my
here.
point.
We're here.
Middle class people sort of quasi going to be protected. There's going to be a whole other round of Hunger Games in
George,
the war
we
next
wouldn't
year, I
think of
promise.
cutting middle class benefits until after the midterm election. I think you know that. I think you know that.
You were in Washington.
We start with the we
You
start
spent
with the
time
poor
here
people.
too. We spent our time.
We start with the poor people right
You
now.
torture poor first, then you torture and destroy the middle class, and then they become poor, and then you can torture them again.
Here. Hi, folks. Sam Seder here. We still need your help on our Patreon page. YouTube ads have come back, but not nearly as much as we had before. So if you can help us out, any little bit helps. Head over to our Patreon page right at this URL, and you'll help us keep helping you by making videos